Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony and today we're hopping back into our life. Last we left off, we had chased down an ice cream truck. So without further ado, let's hop into this. Alright, and back in we go. The order window lifted and the driver gave a hearty greeting. Good evening. Good evening to you. Hi.
Hey.
Hey. Hello.
Sorry.
Hi, thanks for stopping for us. Sorry for chasing you. No, thank you for stopping by. Can I get you something?
Absolutely.
He beamed with victory, a cat who's got his ice cream, and he gave his first check over the options and shrugged. However, we do require a moment. Of course, no problem. Take your time. That started the great ice cream discussion. Ice cream was serious business and took consideration. Miranda was firmly in the camp of acting ice cream options, making the valid point that you could come for ice cream. Terry wasn't convinced, neither was Cove. Getting ice cream obviously didn't mean you had to get ice cream. Anything from the truck counted. The debate ended with no agreed on winner. Everybody just got what they wanted. Again, I'd like a coconut popsicle. Sure, let me get that for you. She reached over into the freezer and pulled out the first of the treats. She handed it to Cove, and he passed her some cash. I'll have one of those snow cones. And I can have a chocolate-dipped ice cream cone, please. The D4. They both received their treats and paid and stepped away to clear the way. You decided to order grape, strawberry, coconut, chocolate cream, strawberry cream, orange cream, ice cream sandwich, ice cream cone, chocolate-dipped ice cream cone, cartoon face popsicle, ice cream taco, snow cone, ice cream sundae cup, frozen lemonade cup. Okay, so firstly, I had four standard things I would get from the ice cream truck. One was the crybaby ice cream with the wooden spoon. You had to scrape that shit. Secondly, an ice cream sandwich, because your boy loves an ice cream sandwich. 5 was I would get the Tweety Bird or Bugs Bunny ice cream face. And 4 was it was like a plastic cup and it had a Neapolitan inside. And so it was just chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. But it had Looney Tunes on the top, as the characters on the packaging. And I would get that with the Lucas powder. That it was salty and everything. And I'd take the powder and I'd sprinkle it on top of the ice cream. And then I'd eat it. So it was spicy but sweet, and that was delicious. And me and my cousin used to go chase this fucking ice cream truck. Every weekend I was at my dad's and she was there. And we would convince my grandmother to give us each $3 for ice cream. That way, because my ice cream was $2 plus the Lucas powder was $3. And then if I was getting the Bugs Bunny or whatever, it was $1.50. And then my cousin would get whatever she wanted. And then my grandmother would always give us extra money so we could get her something. And she always got they're like Otter Pops, but bigger. And she would always ask for the blue one, the white one, and the strawberry one. I can't remember what the blue flavor was, and I can't remember what the white flavor was. But I know that's what she'd asked for. And it was my favorite part of going to my dad's house on every other weekend. Anyway, after that rant is over, I think we're going to go with an ice cream sandwich. Baxter, meanwhile, had yet to finish staring at the menu. With intense scrutiny, his eyes went over the rows advertising Frosty desserts long after everybody else already had theirs. It was getting awkward, especially for the lady in the truck, who would be stuck there until he finally got around to ordering something. Terry tried to break the ice cream and crack a joke. Get the ice cream sundae cup. The ice cream is totally white and the chocolate sauce looks almost black. She found that to be a side splitter, but it didn't even make a dent in Baxter's revere. The world around him was was lost to the place of his mind. Baxter? Still no reaction. A new strategy was needed. Harry stuck a hand right in front of his face, cutting off from the picture, taking all his attention. He blinked and the spell of those tantalizing treats was
I'm
broken.
sorry.
I'm sorry, is something the matter? That's what we wanted to ask you. You've been quiet for a while. Ah, yes, I have been. Baxter put his hands to his chin and popped his hip out to one side. The focus that had been so centered on the truck was now set upon the rest of you. With that pose, he had already, in already eccentric style, Baxter looked like a side character in a cartoony mystery game, one who definitely not the criminal, but still needed to be cross-examined for important details. My problem is this. I'm unsure if I should get a dessert that's to my usual taste. If I do, I'd be certain to enjoy what comes from the ice cream truck. That would be nice. But on the other hand, this may only happen once, perhaps be more rewarding to get something new, an option that would be challenging to find in a common store, which will be adding more to the experience. Indulgent over novelty, want to make sure it's the right choice. Yeah, you should treat yourself to something that you like. Why not get something wild? You get more than one treat. Just get whatever you want, and then you can try what I got too. I think worrying about what's absolutely perfect will still waste the moment. Listen to Baxter vent his concern as he worked through them. Wild. If you don't like it, you can still get your regular thing later today or tomorrow or anytime.
Settled.
I appreciate your weigh-in. A tiebreaker was needed. I'll do just that.
Fun.
Yay! Success. Baxter approached the truck, determined and leaned against the counter. He spoke briefly, to the patient ice cream lady, and money was exchanged. In return, he got his prize. The coveted ice cream treat was finally in his hands. Baxter already explained the method of decision-making, but what that actually amount to was a mystery. He held it up for the curious onlookers. In his grip was a damp wrapper that boldly stated what laid underneath. A creamy popsicle that made to look like a cute girl with bubblegum pieces in the eyes. She was a character from their popular cartoon show. I want to say it's Bubbles, because it's always Bubbles that they have at the fucking ice cream truck. A sweet thing colored mostly by blues and yellows. See? Bubbles is blue. And overly wild, out of place for a man like Baxter Ward to possess. Baxter was living on the edge that evening. Cove snorted with a laugh. Terry applauded. Oh yeah, you can't get that in grocery stores. Or at a restaurant. And it'd be really hard to make yourself. You've done good, Baxter. Entirely straightforward, Baxter made his intentions known. This will be the first and last time I consume a small girl's face, ideally. That's hilarious. Novelty indeed. You shake your head in amusement. Nodded approvingly. Novelty indeed. After one more thanks to your crowd, the ice cream sales lady shut the side window and then the truck slowly began to move. Your friends shouted as they waved and gave grand farewells, wishing her well. The journey bringing treats to young and old. She beeped the horn a couple times in cheer of her own. The truck eventually disappeared behind the skyline, and you, along with the others, ambled across and up the road towards Baxter's car with treat in hand. Rand and Terry giggled about something you couldn't quite catch, but it became apparent the minute they exchanged cones and took a lick each. Actually, using the word lick might have been generous. Terry! A peek at Miranda's half-eaten ice cream and the vanilla and chocolate smeared all over Terry's mouth said all that needed to be said about this situation. Terry pitched forward, clutching her head, the cone nearly hurtling to the ground as she pressed into her temples with both hands. Ha! Karmic justice. Brain freeze, huh? How tragic. She was so young. Cove wiped the non-existent tears he didn't shed for Terry. He looked wistfully to the sky as he dropped the hand over his heart. Oh well. You elbowed him in the ribs, and he went staggering off, clutching the most grieving wound. Then Cove pitched the edge of his popsicle stick, waving it like an accusatory finger in Terry's direction before taking a bite off the top. The regret was immediate on his face the minute he crunched down on it. He stiffened into a Covesicle. Luckily, both Cove and Terry made full recovery in a minute. Cove gently bumped his shoulders into yours. Hey yourself. He was the one who approached you, yet his eyes didn't meet yours. Instead, they're sharply focused on the dessert collapsed in your hand. His blue eyes finally met yours, single fluid motion. The look was pleading. Cove was never good at hiding what he wanted. Then again, he never made it a point trying to be. His mouth didn't even need to voice the intention, the desperation, but still did. We're gonna share, right? Yeah, you can try, but I want to taste other people's stuff too. Yeah, you can try. And so can everybody. Offered yours to Cove, though didn't want anything for yourself. Offered yours to Cove and asked if you could try his too. Yes. You can have some of mine. I want to try yours too. Cove wordlessly exchanged his treat for yours. It tasted exactly how you expected it to. Something between fruity and milky. But not cow's milk exactly. More like coconut milk. The others continued chatting as you clocked that there was a notably absent figure from the party. It was your fifth, newest addition to the group, who'd also happened to be there, one who drove you guys here and made a plan in the first place, Baxter. Your eyes followed the retreating backs of Miranda Terry, then to Cove, who already started to outpace you, and then the minute you relaxed, attempted to see if Baxter had gone even further ahead. There were no signs that the monochrome color scheme you've gotten so good at spotting. A low chuckle from behind you gave way to the ghost. His tone was chill as always, but it was even more fitting considering the theme of the moment's frozen delight.
Oh?
I wonder what it is that you're searching for, James. You felt bad not noticing that he'd been quiet since you gave your well wishes, then sent the truck on its way. You imagined he would fit himself into the conversation without much issue, but he hadn't. Instead, he hung out at the very end of the crowd, inspecting his dessert with the gravity of a man who had been face to face with the source of deep-rooted fear only hours ago. Let's ask. You slid to a stop altogether and waved the others while they checked on you. Baxter's walk turned into a brief jog, aware that you were waiting and not wanting to keep you. It wasn't long before he came up behind. You fell into step beside him, the two of you silently as he passed, his wondering glances in your direction. It'd been a hot topic of discussion with the others. It'd be good to include Baxter in on the fun too, even if he said no. Did you want to try? Baxter lifted his hooded eyelids higher, searching your face for something, though you weren't sure what. All right, I'll bite. Really? Working his head to the side, Baxter held an easy smile naturally as he found the wind. Certainly. Did you think I would refuse an opportunity to sample the finest fare that Sunset Bird has to offer? You knew he was teasing you. That meant it was only fair you did too. You waggled your eyebrows back to him as suggestively as you could. I think you may be disappointed. I'm only talking about the ice cream sandwich. Oh, that is regrettable. Baxter held an open palm out, waiting for the proffered treat to be handed over. But when you moved closer, he didn't pick up the dessert. Instead, Baxter held your wrist, giving the ice cream sandwich steady, but leaned in to try it from you directly. His fingers were long and delicate, and they were cold.
Thank you.
Ah! This man! He noticed your reaction and grinned devilishly as he retreated to the respectable distance again. Even though he'd let go, it still felt tingly where the touch began. Would you care to try mine? It is intriguing. Yes, please. Thanks. Well, I mean, if you're offering, I'm okay. No, I'm good. I can't eat anything that has a face, you joked. Yes, please. Baxter held out the popsicle for your appraisal. It was flavored faintly of freezer burn and bubblegum. That was the conclusion you drew after getting a good look at the back of his popsicle, but it didn't really taste of anything. At least not with any certainty. Baxter watched quietly, still holding it at an angle for you to have another try if you wished. That worked out for you. Another sample was taken so you could check if your initial impressions were off. The results were it tasted the same. Better, maybe, perhaps a third try would give you a resolution. Look on your face must have said it all, because he shrugged for dropping the treat within your line of sight again. The possibility was that he may never get it back was starting to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I should have bought two. No, it's fine. I'm done. As tempting as it was, you did refrain from further test taking. Maybe there was some mysteries in this world that couldn't be solved.
Hey, buddies.
Hey, buddies. Tay waved her snow cone as high as she called out to the both of you. When did the others get to the car? All right, we're coming. You called to her before you and Baxter took off up the street. Terry pointed her partially melting snow cone towards Baxter's as soon as he came close enough. I wanted to try yours too. Mine is a little slushy now, but that's half the appeal. He gave his cartoon face popsicle to Terry, taking the paper cone in exchange. And for reference, what is the other half? Turns your tongue blue.
Really?
Didn't you get cherry? Yep. Are you sure you didn't get the wrong one? I'm not sure about anything in this life. After they each got a chance to try the other desserts, Baxter and Terry swapped again. Then Baxter leaned against the car hood while everybody else probably situated themselves around the area. Randy and Terry took seats on the sidewalk curb, apparently heatedly debating the possibility of blue cherry being a real flavor. Oh, wrong button. Terry had fair argument considering raspberries weren't blue, yet blue raspberry did exist for some reason. Cove hovered nearby, crouching himself on the summer-warmed asphalt. He stretched and strained, trying to lick a stream of melted coconut popsicle running down his arm. You remember you can't lick your elbow, right? You never could. Ignoring your well-intentioned warning, he pressed on, his face squished against his forearm, tongue angling, trying to anyway. I can do it. It's personal now. The limit of the human body were a pain, but it was still pretty funny to watch him try and fight against it. With the absence of the ice cream truck, music, and the thrill that came with that, the street seemed entirely different. Houses quietly lined the streets. Could I not skip, please? Houses quietly lined the streets, and you now heard the rush of wind, branches swaying overhead. The breeze, leaves rustled. It didn't carry the comforting smell of sea salt. So, here we are. Terry heartedly licked the side of her snow cone. She leaned on her fist. The arm prompted up on raised knees. Her tongue was extremely blue now. Far away from wherever we belong and who knows where, camped out in front of some random suburban person's house. Miranda tilted her head back to look up at the mailbox mounted on the concrete. Rocking to the side, she craned her head to read what number was on the side of it.
Thanks.
Thank you to the fine people of 231, whatever this street is.
Thanks.
Sure, thanks to the people of 231 whatever street. Right, and thanks for driving us all the way out here, Bax. Can I call you Bax? Before he could even answer, Terry sucked in a bit of air and waved it off. Nah, that's not right. I'll work on it. Baxter chuckled, taking another lick of his popsicle. There's no need to thank me. It was exactly what I wanted to do. Hey, what do you guys think of the ice cream truck? Honestly, I'm not sure this was worth the trouble. It was totally worth it. It was nice to enjoy the moment. This stuff tasted way better when I was a kid. It was totally worth it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Definitely. Absolutely. The sky grew pinker and yellower, and you knew the day was soon going to come to a close. Somehow it felt wrong. It had gone too fast to be over. Though summer never seemed long enough those days. As you were about to voice that thought, you heard the dim sound of something gurgling that immediately replaced the words that came out. Hey, did you guys hear that? I did. Yeah, what was it? Neither of the boys replied. The question, except for shakes of the head, and shrugged in the negative. There was no time to follow up the question because the answer came in the form of a shh. Water bubbled, then shot up in graceful arcs all around. Droplets splashed onto the paved driveways and were coming towards the sidewalk next. Sprinklers! Randy made a break for it, dashing into the street with the speed of an Olympic sprinter. Randy, wait up! Terry leapt onto her feet. Her shoes hit the concrete wet slab while Baxter wordlessly searched for cover himself from the surprise spray, meandering away without any urgency. He responded with remarkable poise about the whole thing, unbothered by the fact he'd gotten wet today after all. Baxter even had time to finish the last bit of his cartoon popsicle face. He ducked behind the other side of the car. Randy, Terry, don't leave me here. You took stride in yourself. Other side of the car. A few stray drops managed to strike you, but you were no worse for the wear. It started so quickly that there was no way to avoid all of the damage. But Cove didn't even so much as flinch. He only stood to his full length with his back to the car, popsicle stick prodding out of his mouth. He glanced over the others, grinning as he withdrew the stick clean.
Oh?
How about this water-based activity? We're all in swimsuits.
Exciting.
Oh, well, isn't this an interesting proposition? The challenge had been issued, and Baxter threw down the gauntlet. He held his own popsicle stick between his teeth, tossing his shirt off into the street with grace of someone who'd definitely done that before. Kov's eyes popped open with a shock, but he didn't allow the surprise to keep him from moving. He darted off to the lawns as Baxter came sprinting from behind. It looked more like Kove was running away from him rather than into the sprinklers. My snow cone! Terry complained, sticking the paper cone higher in the air. She stayed well and good away from the sprinkler spray.
No.
It'll melt. Terry had a wetsuit on, but that wasn't going to protect her snow cone by the long shot.
Let's do it.
Oh, come on, Terry, live a little. In spite of that fact that Miranda had led the charge for cover, she was easily convinced to jump into the fray. Skipping to the sidewalk with her ice cream in tow, she waved the two boys down to stop and wait for her. Terry slided up to her side, clutching her honestly already melted dessert. Her eyes kept going between her much-beloved treat and the sparkling sprinkles, but she seemed to have chosen to preserve the sanctity of the snow cone instead. You guys going ahead? Here I come. Everyone was laughing now, but you stayed nice and dry with Terry. Forget everybody else. Those sprinklers were yours. We're going. There was no need for preamble or introduction. Kicking off your shoes, you ran straight into the sprinklers to catch up with the others, roaring with enthusiasm as the water sprayed overhead. The temperature of the water was bracing. Odds had been good that it'd be cold, but that was almost on the next level. The suburbs put ice in their pipes. Still, you weren't about to regret this decision now. You dashed back and forth between the rows of sprinklers, spun and jumped beneath the spray, planted yourself in front of the most powerful sprinkler. You took Baxter's hand and ran through the sprinklers. You took Kove's hand and ran through the sprinklers. Miranda's hand and ran through. Baxter, we're going. Rushing up to Baxter's side, you bumped your shoulder into his and sneakily took his hand in yours. He pushed his hair back with his free one, and the black and white strands blended. He hadn't gotten nearly that wet when you were at the beach, ironic considering that was the whole ocean and this was some poor person's lawn you were trampling. Oh, how about a dance? In reply, you kicked out a foot in a grand pose, grinning. He twirled into you, curling your arm around him.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful. Baxter spun himself out and you made your way through the sprinklers, turning twirls and stopping to spin together. You were all fancy-footed and careful until suddenly you heard Randy cry out in surprise. She was covering her mouth and held what remained of her crumbling sugar cone. Ice cream had fallen abandoned into the grass. It was one thing to have damp ice cream, it was another if it fell to the ground altogether. Everyone stopped except for the sprinklers on their backs and forth, panting, and Terry Brooke. Terry breached the wall of water, sliding across the grass until she could get a leg up. On one knee, she lifted her snow cone in an offering. It was, if we're the finest bouquet of roses. Randy, will you do me the great honor? Oh! Miranda lit up brighter than any star, giggling as she whipped the last streak of ice cream from her fingers. She took the offered snow cone, dark hair falling forward as she smiled softly at Terry. Terry bounced up from the ground, dusting off whatever grass adhered itself to her leg. You know, it was just ice cream. I would have survived. Terry was aghast, her hand at her clavicle before she reached out in front, out for the snow cone. All right, I'm taking it back then. Nope, you already gave it to me. Ko's eyes met yours as you turned in the direction of the boy, and he smiled, shrugging as if to say that he didn't know what to do either. The two were already invested in a new game of keep away until Kove stole it right out of their hands, only to be immediately dogpiled by both. Ah! You turned to search for Baxter to see if he was going to join the fray, but he was distracted. His attention was squarely fixed on Miranda Terry, watching as they argued about whose snow cone it was and if Kove really had a stake in the matter. I see. He hummed, stroking his chin with consideration before brown eyes met yours, and the thoughtful expression gave way to a lax smile. He chuckled, gesturing to them as he gave you a look, asking if this was typical, the answer to which you readily provided is a big thumbs up. Hey, nice job.
I'm on it.
For Randy, anything. Terry beamed in reply, elbowing Cove in the ribs, before the sudden hiss of another spinquel rising from its earthly tomb reminded her of where they were. Randy shotgunned the rest of Terry's snow cone. A champion was born. Terry responded by crushing the paper cone against her forehead, to Miranda's delight, though she didn't get some of the syrup in her eye. And it wasn't long before that interlude was forgotten. Dashing and leaping resumed in earnest. But all good things must come to an end. Eventually the sprinklers retreated into the ground, and all that remained in the celebration was 5 dripping young adults. Boo! I was just getting started. It should have gone longer. Honestly, I think it went on a really long being a bunch of sprinklers. The sun was situated almost perfectly halfway below the horizon. It was probably about time to call it quits for the day. Actually, we were really sure to call it when another breeze swept by and caught on the now soaked, very cold fabric of your clothes. Shivering in place, you watched as Terry and Miranda immediately found each other again, girls clinging desperately to each other for warmth. Cove tugged on the hem of his shirt, pinching it away from his body before allowing it to fall back on the wet slab. I should have taken this off before I went in. He promptly rectified this and took off his shirt, cheeks pinking with embarrassment when the girls took a break from being cold to whistle at him. Guys, I wasn't wearing this on the beach. It's not different now. He wrung the water out of it before swinging the shirt over his shoulder instead of pulling it back on again. And before anybody says anything, I'm going to be colder wearing that than not wearing it. Tell me about it. The damage to your shirt was as bad for you as it was for him. We're taking it off. We're going. It'd be more comfortable carrying it than wearing it at this point. I do regret that we did not bring our towels. He ambled up the road to pick up his abandoned shirt, faster than returned to the car side, as did the entire gang. I must confess, I don't find it nearly as cold as you all seem to. Would any of you care to use this? His eyes met yours as Baxter offered his shirt up by its collar. Not that cold. You should wear it. You shook your head no. I'm not that cold either. He silently took the shirt from his hands. What a gentleman. You draped the shirt over your shoulders like a blanket. It didn't quite fit right, and the fabric was thin, so it soaked up what water was still on you. But when you pinched the front close, it kept the wind out better, and that was enough. It wasn't immediately obvious at first between the earthly smell of wet grass and the damp asphalt, but you picked up on the scent of something heady and floral. That definitely wasn't you, and it sure wasn't the neighborhood or Cove or the girls either. The thought was nearly put aside until you burrowed deeper in the shirt to trap what warmth you could in, realizing it was probably Baxter's cologne. To the side, Terry and Miranda remained linked. Their knees were practically knocking into each other. You couldn't pry them apart with a crowbar if you tried. That had to be effective. Or Randy, Terry, let me in on that too. I'm cold. Baxter wants some help warming up. You opened up your arms to him. Cove, come here. You opened up his arms to him. Really didn't think this through. Shook your head. Let's keep Baxter warm. Baxter laughed. He threw up his hands, relenting as he shifted for you to come closer. You made your way over without further fanfare, and he pulled you into a tight hug despite the water on him. You hadn't lied. He was warmer than you would have expected of any of the others to be, but you couldn't exactly pretend that the goosebumps up and down his arms weren't there either. You rested your arms comfortably around his waist. Yeah, you doubtably confirmed that the rich scent was his cologne, but you couldn't tell what the smell was exactly. It smelled pleasant, though, and you only noticed it more once you started to think about it. Caught up in your own reverie, you didn't notice when he leaned in closer, his lips to your ear. Ooh. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, remember to like. That way you know you're enjoying the content I'm making. Remember to hit subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to say what happens next, and I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.